Moo and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pink Tron. No Brent tonight, so you've got the slightly tired, bored-sounding British person instead. With me tonight on the Pink Tron, let's go first. Steph Etienne, what are you drinking?
And even more tired 7 because I'm on a hour ahead, so I'm just having some apple and kiwi fruit juice. Nothing too much
Um,
caffeinated because otherwise I
Right.
can't sleep.
very wise, very wise. We're going to move next. You can hear him chuckling in the background there to Nate Trachta. Nate, what are you drinking today?
I'm drinking water with drip drops in it. I'm going out for beer afterwards.
You were having a popsicle just before we started, which looked amazing though. So,
And outshine. So yes, always a good thing.
and Craig, hopefully you can save the Pinktron's dignity here. Are you drinking an alcoholic drink?
I am. It is a very local, happy brewing, drama-free IPA. Very unlike the
And
Swift
on a
forums.
peppermint, and I'm on a peppermint tea. But speaking of things that aren't drama free, hopefully that link was greasy enough for you, Brent. Uh, HSRL this week is on it's Queen's Highway After Party, isn't it? I've forgotten the name. It is Queen's Highway After Party. I've got the name right. I suddenly doubted myself then, despite having read it 30 seconds ago, and raced it earlier this evening. So six times the Yorkshire Sprint, then up the Yorkshire Com Reverse before finishing the bottom of Yorkshire Com Reverse. It's about a sprint every 3 kilometers. It's quite a hilly sprint. It's quite disgusting. And then you do the com. Worth noting, the com is worth double points, so it might be worth you saving a little bit on the last sprint to go for the com. Any of you guys going to take this on this weekend?
I absolutely am.
I'm a pass on that. Sorry, I'm doing training and I have a coach to speak me up. Trust me, I'd rather do that in many ways.
Steph, how about you?
Maybe I've done it I think in the prologue of DRS where it was just two sprints counting in the KOM, but yeah, it's a nasty course.
Yeah, with HSRL rules, this is loads and loads of fun. I think it wasn't, and it wasn't the after party, but I think it was either Queen's Highway or Duchy Estate that I think was my first race in B when I first went up to B, and that was when Dirt had the whole crowd with New Heights and all those guys. So loads of fun. Um, but yeah, that's this is a terrific course. Very rolling. It's always up or down, and then we finish off up the hill. So I guess we go down the hill in order for the hill to count as a segment.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the this is a diabolical route. And didn't you say that the hill counts double, doesn't it? Was that the
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's six sprints. So the sprint that is part of the lead-in will count,
yeah.
and then 5 laps around before you hit the hill, which counts double. So. And yeah, that's not a well. I had an interesting race in D's. We had two other people who looked like they knew the rules, so we're sprinting, which was quite good fun, and then some other people catching up to us. Um, I thought I did quite well in the sprints, and had managed to squeeze ahead of a guy by hanging on to the C train. But then got dropped by the C train, and this guy caught me up again, and he just rode the hill really well. So would attack at like 5 watts a kilogram, settle down to two, and I just had time trial effort left in me at that point, so I couldn't keep up with him. So thought going to be really interesting to log on to Swift Power, check the points. He's not on Swift Power, so
Well,
seemed to know all the rules, doing sprints to sprints, went for the calm. not Swift power. So I'm going to take the W, really. But yeah, tough course.
Yep.
What we're
And
thinking
Yeah.
bike choice. Well, no, there's no bike choice. It's wheel choice, I guess, the only thing. Although I did learn that kilometers on a bike which you are forced to be on seem to still count against the bike that you chose for leveling up. So I managed to level up my bike whilst riding an event-only bike, which was
Nice.
interesting.
excellent. I'll
What
have
was
to
your wheel choice for this one?
Whatever wheels I've got on at the moment, Nate. I think I'm on Zip 454s. I don't know.
So I think I'd probably go NV78s, which is just very slightly faster than that and slightly worse climbing, but almost the same as the 454, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of the two, depending on.
Yeah, the fall off is just too sharp for the disc wheels on anything but a pretty flat course now.
Cool. So let's go to Steph. We'll go to you next. You want to talk about Climbers Gambit, tell us what's happening at the moment, and then we're going to spend a bit of time with Nate talking HBR. But yeah, Steph, quickly on Climbers Gambit.
Yeah, still the monthly challenge is still going. Volcano KOM is still the the climb on the whole lava route. Standard climber gambits rule is applies only your segment, your time on the segment counts. You can use I think it's about 7 kilometers as a lead in as a warm up en route, so you have plenty of time and hit the blue finish banners after you pass to the com. And yeah, but some issues in the beginning. We had some, but we had did a manual correction, or at least Craig did. Didn't work out really well, so we had to incorporate the expertise of James Bailey, who helped us out with it. So it's all fine now.
Yeah.
Seeing Lois has signed up yet again for Monday, so maybe to improve his time. So yeah, I think there are now 4 slots, one tomorrow, two on Sunday, and one on Monday, and then probably on next week's we'll revert back to Stampede next month for the monthly challenge. But
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is cool, right? So you have as many tries as you like in the month
yeah,
to set your best possible time. So
yeah,
um, give it more than one go.
yeah.
Yeah. When's the last time you did are there more results waiting to be put into the standings, Steph? Or if that's it, there's only 9. So you're guaranteed top 10. Anybody that rides it, the next new person that rides it. So
Yeah.
Right then, let's go down to Herd Beginner Racing. So Nate, let's talk about what the course is this week, and then let's just chat a bit more about the series.
Okay. HBR this week is going to be TikTok. And while we use it very commonly, always at the end of the month, focus is to help racers out there track themselves and see how much they're improving or where they need to work on things a little bit. As we all know, common course, you go 10 kilometers across the Badlands of Watopia, and then from the desert pens, and then you have your short little punchy climbing out of Saddle Springs. After that, you go around, you go through the underwater tube, head towards Beachy, and then up the false flat, back towards the desert pens and the finish line. A very common event. Always a good turnout.
It's a great course to learn on, isn't it? Because there's you need all those basic skills for Zwift. You need to stick in the draft. You need to respond to the punchy bits. There's a couple of bits where we often say you're not going to win the race, but you could lose the race on those points as you come out on TikTok. So yeah, lovely intro course, and not going to scare any people off. Hopefully, with too many meters of climbing, which we know kind of does put some folks off.
We've had our fights over our how many people participate when we do a climbing event, and yes, we do like to include a climbing event because climbing skills, they're important if you're going to come out and try to race.
And last week, because what was the course last week? I remember it's gone from my mind, but I remember that being a decent course and finished at Petit Com, didn't it?
Yes, it did. We did Hell of the North, a little bit of a tribute because I just did Paris-Roubaix, but also new course, and I liked the way that one looked. The distance felt right. It has the hill at the end, which is always a good place to put it. I did get a little bit of feedback that it might be a little bit much for our Cat E riders. So what I might do the next time, I need to talk with the group and see if they'd rather do uh, the um, the Gentile 8 instead, which is a very similar course. It does go up the Petite KOM, but just finish it at the Petite KOM since that's at about the halfway mark for the caddies for us.
Oh, that's interesting because, of course, you do some sort of funky stuff with laps quite often as well to get the different riders doing different things.
So I
Yeah,
would say, so I did ride. So I am, my ZRS has dropped. I'm into the A category of HBR. I did ride Hell of the North in HBR last week, and the it did send me up Ventoux after the climb. So yeah, this is definitely not a lap friendly course, even if it looks like it really should work.
I learned that one too after the fact. I will admit this one.
But no, I'd agree. I think almost like that's if TikTok is like your very intro to Zwift, I think that kind of course 2 or 3 would be a course like this. It's not a hugely steep climb. It is a bit draftable apart from the bit of the finish. Like there's some it will be probably a 10 to 15 minute effort to some of the newer riders perhaps, or some of the folks in category E, as you say. And yeah, it's a reasonable course, isn't it?
I like it. It's a great course for if you're just coming in and you're in Penny. Congratulations! You're going to learn how to ride in a race type of environment. If you're an experienced racer, it's a great one to practice on because if you can master the climb coming out of Saddle Springs, that's such a common climb, and if you can nail it, it's a really good one to nail.
Yeah, we Craig and I were riding some of the French roads recently and saying that actually the some of those routes could actually favour like the heavy riders who put out big watts. Kind of there's some
Mhm.
points which really favour kind of banner attacks in there. So yeah, some funky stuff you can do mid race before the climb to put the hurt on some of the little people.
There are several of those courses that they're going to be in ZRL. I know it, and I don't look forward to points races there.
You know what I do? Like it is very, but I guess we've talked about that. Like I like repeated sprints. Um, I mean, really, we talked me maybe getting a working with a coach, and that's going to be for BMX. And most of that is going to be, do this many sets of, you know, 10 rotations or 10 pedal sprints or 3 pedal sprints or yeah, so it's a lot of repeats. I like it. um I can't remember which course it is that Steve and I did, but it was definitely bang, and a lot of the new routes have the bang, 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 the 3 sprints in a row.
The
Really
it's
close. Yeah,
the
very.
Bon Voyage route. It's as like I think like you do like 3 times that inner new circuit with the 3 sprints in like 9 kilometers, and I think the sprints are about all in a stretch of 5 kilometers of that route. So yeah, it's if you do that in a ZRL or a HSRL type environments, that can be brutal.
Yeah.
And there were some concerns that the Bon Voyage had too many segments to make it an HSRL route. People would be pleased to
No.
hear that Maryline, because they are repeated segments, probably will feature it on HSRL soon. So I think Craig and I will take full responsibility for suggesting that. Like Craig, I like sprint repeats, but even we were kind of like, this is going to be super tough. So. Right, let's talk HBR then, Nate. Let's kind of talk us through the history of it. What's the sort of mentality? What you got folks trying to achieve?
Okay, HBR's focus. There's two focuses as I see it. I'm going to let Craig correct me if he wants to, but the two focuses I see is number one, giving an area for people to come out and try racing out in a relatively safe environment. We're not going to have people that are Cat A's and unlikely to have Cat B's out there racing, but they get to come out. We set the routes so that they're relatively friendly to help them build up a little bit. And also, we try to build them so that Cat D and lower Cat C riders can practice their racecraft a little bit and learn more and possibly improve and do better in other events. So to me, this is a breeding ground so that racers in general can grow themselves. And if you're interested, come out, try it. You're racing yourself first and foremost, is my philosophy. Craig, correct me.
What you tend to do is use the Zwift Racing Score bands, but you've set them quite low, haven't you? And you do some funky stuff with laps as well, I've noticed, for the lower riders.
Yes, we do. One of the things that we do is we do have our boundaries. Our penny, it goes from ZRS of 0 up to 125. And that would be most people that are introductory riders or just want to come out and try it. That's where they're going to be at first. To facilitate that, if it's a shorter route that we're using, what I typically look for is, depending upon the route, for example, we're going to have a flat route coming up. And usually flat routes, I'm looking at downtown Dolphin, Richmond, Fan Flats, something like that. If it's downtown Dolphin, it'll be 5 laps that we're looking at for our penny, 2 laps of Fan Flats if it's Richmond. So the goal there is get them experience, let them race against each other, but don't burn them out. Then if it's the more experienced the group is, or the higher their ZRS, the more laps we'll add into it. For downtown Dolphin, we had really good feedback for both of the courses there, that what we would do is for each of the pens, we would increase it by 1 additional lap. So our penny would start at 5 laps, Pen D would go to 6, and just go up from there with each one.
That's very similar to that old HSRL one that James did, where it was 10 laps of hilly route for A, 9 for B, 8 for C, and
I have no pleasant memories of that event at all.
I
I do
seem to
remember.
remember us doing a Tron when we started. We were still on course, so I think you called James several rude names.
Yeah, many and frequently. So, and just to give people a bit of context, so you said the lowest band is up to ZRS 1 to a score of 125.
Yes.
So for a bit of context, if you signed up to tiny races tomorrow at the weekend organised by Zwift Insider, their lowest group goes up to 230. So this is a really kind of narrow band, really good introduction for kind of new racers, I think.
Uh, that's really what we wanted to do, because with the people that are with a ZRS of 125, they're more likely to have a little bit lower watts per kilo for 20 minutes, which a lot of what the ZRS is based off of. And as a person gains more race experience, they're going to move up, and hopefully it's more competitive for them, helps them grow.
And you're getting some really great numbers, aren't you, as well? I'm trying to look up on SwiftPower how many people raced last week, but can't operate SwiftPower for some reason. But they all seem to be really well attended. Obviously, last week was a hilly one, so you expect that to be a bit lower, but you tend to get quite big numbers in these races, don't you?
Usually we've done really well. Our best days have actually been on Sunday lately, except they weren't last week, all because of Easter for some reason. Just don't understand that one, but that's okay. No, usually Sundays have been really well. Very nice attendance there. Saturdays, sometimes it's a little bit tough with the first two races. It just really depends on what the route is and how much of a repeat we have. And if it's a climbing event, it's a little bit harder to get the numbers out there sometimes. For some reason,
Nate, for listeners, Nate's currently enduring a savage cat attack at the moment, which he's doing very well to not be distracted by. And we're doing very well not to just laugh at the moment, which is that classic Zoom call bingo card there. Anyone who's got that. So yeah, Steph, have you done any of these beginner races? I know I've done a couple a few months ago and found them really good fun. So
Yeah, when I first started out, I did a couple of them. Think, well, yeah, when it was old category enforcement, with but with back then we did also with I don't know if it's can't remember if I probably did some with the separated bands with watts per kilo
Yeah,
boundaries.
definitely did, Steph.
you did.
Uh,
I remember working with you on a couple of them.
yeah, I think some also coming back to TikTok, had some fun on a couple of them because I'm not a sprinter. Tried the attack out of the water tunnels and out of the little riser to the desert to break people off, to semi succeeding, but yeah, was my place to go because I'm a mediocre sprinter, so
just always attack with 1 kilometer to go, because we know that is the ultimate point for panache on any course. So what have you got planned coming up then, Nate? What's the kind of next few months look like? We were talking beforehand about kind of seeing where things are in the autumn or fall.
Well, one of the things I asked for some feedback last week, and I always like getting feedback from people that have participated. I received two good pieces of feedback, and the first one I wanted to address with Craig and the other people that are the committee for HBR was bringing in a introduction to racing type of event. And what we're working towards is setting up a couple of events in May where what we'll do is we'll have a group rider that will take the riders on a course. And the course that was recommended for us was RGV, since it's a nice racing course, one of my personal favorites. And rather than just talking through all the things about that you need to know about racing, we have a pretty good document to help support that, but instead to work first and foremost paceline, how to promote drafting, because drafting is the most basic thing in racing, but it's also one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
Anyone that's a great racer seems to be a great person in the draft. So what we would work towards is maintaining a pace so that people could easily work within the draft, feel the draft, but still at a low enough level so that we're welcoming anyone that wants to come out and try it out and learn a little bit more about racing, or at least try, so that we can get their foot in the door and maybe come out and try HBR or Team Time Trial or any of the other herd sponsored events, since we're pretty user friendly, I think.
So
This
I
is such a cool idea, I think, isn't it, Craig? Like I've often wanted to just get on the front at 1.5 watts per kilo with like a team time trial team, like particularly with ZRL and some of these events, and go, you guys see how slowly you can pedal before you get dropped. And if you get dropped, I'll stop. Kind of, we'll all catch up again. But to just practice that expend minimum watts behind people mentality. Craig, go ahead.
no, yeah. So I, Nate, and our kind of HBR advisory group we set up when we were first setting up HBR. So that I've been advocating for slower and slower and slower as a target base on that. And really, the beauty of Zwift in this case is the drafting mechanism works identically no matter how fast or slow you're going. So the effect is less as far as the number of watts you're saving, but the mechanic works the same. If you start moving out to the side, you ease off a little bit, and then he'll switch. The draft seeking behavior will bring you back in, and all the nice little tricks that we've learned over the years in staying, and not getting right on the back of somebody and wasting watts in the sticky draft, which is went away but seems to sort of be back. All of those things that we've learned over the years, how do we teach them, in a 1 hour group ride?
We can introduce them to it, but
You can't
yeah,
teach them, but you can introduce the concept, and then people are going to work on it as they race, which is exactly what we want, and it's how we figured it all out in the first place.
exactly.
I think one of the places where I learned drafting, I know, so still learning it, but how to set a proper pace, not just drafting, but what power output is. It's more it's not beginner friendly, but it helped me a lot. Was ladder racing, because you have such a smaller group, so drafting and setting a correct pace to keep up with the group is essential there. And learned, still messed it up multiple times, but yeah, it was a great place for me to see where I went wrong on certain points, because you're so exposed. If you're in a bigger, like Z racing type of environment, you have a bigger blob to draft off.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the for me, when I really started in Zwift a lot and with the herd a lot in 2020, the way to learn was the Thursday TTT, and I still think that's a terrific way to
I,
develop skills, and also to
Yeah.
to meet people and really get into the social part of the Zwift racing. So, yeah.
that's one of the reasons I told my coach I wanted to keep Team Time Trial as part of my thing. I enjoy the team aspect. If we have new people come in, the big thing is keeping them within our draft. We want them to finish with us. I'll admit I'm only a Mocha rider, but yeah, that's our focus.
And that happens reasonably high up with a lot of the team time trial teams as well. If you're knackered, people will be like, sit in the draft, we'll go on the front.
Mhm.
Like some of the super serious teams are kind of like churning around pace line and going as fast as they can, and that's also a fun workout, or can be. But I think all of us have probably been both sides of this. Sometimes you're on the front and you're the diesel that's going around and going, well, I can probably sit in my FTP for the whole time and you guys just sit behind me. And sometimes we've been in teams where I'm the person who's desperately hiding in the draft, saying I'm not going anywhere near the front. And you learn, as you say, you just learn an incredible amount about expending as few watts as possible, but also those little times where you have to just bump up the watts slightly.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at the course. I think this is such a good learning course. We've got some pave, so the rolling resistance changes, so you have to modify your riding slightly. There's those little inclines before you even get to aqueduct. So again, you'll have to just be aware of where you are in the bunch and those kind of things. And then of course finishing through the intestines. I think the intestines is such a good learning opportunity as well, because that is a point again where you're probably not going to win a race, but you almost certainly can lose it. If you lose a group in that point, the draft is so powerful, and when to be particularly on the power and off the power and anticipate kind of where your trainer might kick in and things like that will be just such great skills to have. So yeah, what a cool idea.
what we're looking for right now, or looking at right now, is we need to get a couple of our people to go out on a course or on RGV, practice a little bit so that we know what we're doing with I'm going to say 6 to 8 riders, and just make sure we have what pace can we set so that everyone is working the right way. Because as Craig said, I started out looking maybe a little bit on the higher side for watts per kilo, and we're the floor is coming down on that quite a bit. I think it's going to be good. One of the things I'm hoping is we'll run this in May. I'm hoping that we have pretty good success. If we do, I definitely want to relook at this as we head towards fall and see if we can do it at least monthly in the fall and see what we get with people.
That's really, and we're going to put this in the Herd Racing Club group, I think is the plan, isn't it?
Yes,
We'll advertise it on Facebook pages and all the usual places we advertise. Hopefully, we'll have a chat with Eric and Zwift Insider and see if they can give us a bit of a push. Watch this space kind of thing.
Absolutely.
hopefully a good thing.
Yeah. I do want to throw out, yeah, so I was kind of pushing after we had renamed the old HBR that turned into the semi-elite racing that Herd Winter Racing is. Because it was, really top level Zwifters racing Herd beginner racing it was 1 or 2 seasons that it kind of turned into that. And we renamed that to Herd Winter Racing. But it was we after we'd renamed it, like we really should restart Herd Beginner Racing and really have beginner racing. And Nate stood up and said, "Yeah, I'll take the lead on that." And Nate, you've done that for has it been 2 years now?
Since we got it started,
Yeah.
you you pulled together the group. We had some really good feedback from all the participants, and actually, Paul Smith gave us a really good suggestion to add Jeff to the group
Hmm.
because he's doing videos. And one of the things I'm wanting to get is when he does a video for HBR next time, he condenses it to about a 5 minute video or so
Yeah.
and talks people through it. And I want to get that posted on Herd Racing and hopefully also the Herd as a possible interest for people.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this really recreated the kind of original Herd beginner racing spirit, wasn't it? It was looking at D's and low C's, kind of people who were new to cycling, new to Swift, getting in and kind of catering for those races. So yeah, definitely nails that brief, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, Steve, not to take over control from you, but and now it's time for the news.
Oh,
So relatively quiet week in Zwiftland. But 10 years ago today, yesterday, Thursday, the April 24th, 2015, Zwift launched Watopia. And their message at the time was to their beta testers, together we've ridden 1 million miles, 1.6 million kilometers, 333,000 laps, and climbed 44 million feet, 13.4 million meters on Zwift Island, now known as Jarvis Island. That's like climbing Mount Everest 1.5 thousand times. We think that's a big deal. So today we've launched our new course on the next aisle to celebrate. Welcome to Watopia, your new home on Zwift. You can see we've successfully moved. We're ready for everyone to conquer our 10K course filled with fabulous vistas, bridges, and all new terrain. We're still under construction. Please be patient as we work to bring you the best ride possible. Helmets encouraged. So, the helmet's encouraged. I think we all know the horror stories of people who have managed to somehow either not properly affix their bike to their trainer and fall, or fall off their bike when it's on the trainer. But apart from that, this is all about Watopia. So, Watopia has expanded quite a lot from when it was just hilly route, which is what they introduced at this time. Um, what do we think?
Yeah, it's hard to believe if you look at it, because now we not recently, a couple of months ago, we were introduced with Jarvis Island back. That loop was the beginning loop, and people were doing that 5, 6 kilometer a lap, just doing that loop over and over again. But when you look now, how many groups, how many options we have.
Yeah, I mean, we've got way more. We've got a bunch more worlds now. France is kind of the secondary, kind of super world at the moment, where we've got and that's where the other big climb is, and especially now that we've got multiple flat routes and all the loops we can do now with this latest France expansion. But Watopia really is the biggest world and the biggest part of Zwift. So yeah, it's the all of the world's courses, because we've got Harrogate, Innsbruck, Richmond. Those are great courses, but they're kind of limited, just because they haven't really expanded those worlds. Um, McCurry was supposed to be the new Watopia. I don't think it's ever going to replace Watopia. I don't think it's better. It's yeah. I mean, it's very interesting. Uh,
Hmm.
I think where it doesn't have the signature climb the way Watopia and France do, I think until they add that, and I mean, everybody's been asking for Mount Fuji forever. Yeah, until they add that, I don't know that it's ever going to be quite as much the everything world that either Watopia or the France world are. Um, so yeah, that's but yeah, 10 years since I mean 10 years since really Zwift as we know it started, because Jarvis Island, say the tribute to Jarvis Island kind of just came out of the ocean next to the volcano a few months ago. But it's yeah, the hilly route and everything's built out from that.
Could you ride hilly route backwards, or was it only hilly route forwards? That's what I want to know. Is the
You know what? I don't know. I wasn't here.
Yeah.
I was not on Zwift in 2015. I wasn't even really, I mean, I was commuting to work, but I wasn't really a cyclist yet. I was still mostly a runner.
I love their messaging of like it's only 10 kilometers and everyone being really excited about that. Kind of the sort of mild disappointment that would hit Zwift now if they added 10 kilometers of roads in, I think, as well.
Well, actually, so
Basically, what?
I would say, this new France expansion was less than 10K of new roads.
Yep,
Holy cow, does it change France?
Oh,
yep.
huge.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it's not about the length of road. It's about, what they did adding those two cross routes and three sprints and all the routes around it. That's a lot.
I
Um,
think where you said that France was a secondary world, I would have said McCurry because McCurry had lots more options. But now with France, with the new connector roads, it becomes more of a viable world competing because you have that option because it was basically RGV, Douce France, the versions up Petite KOM and Van Top, and that was it
mhm.
in France, as opposed to McCurry. You had lots more options. I felt, but yeah,
yeah, I mean, Mercury
Uh,
does a lot of stuff, but there seems to be two or three things repeated a lot.
yeah.
It's just how it kind of feels. Like the Neokio, it's really flat with the one climb.
Mhm.
Um, is it? I can't even remember what they call the original Mercury, but I mean, it's flat with the dirt climb.
It, I'll give a slight disagreement there. It's tilted.
You
Even
know,
he's off.
so Nate, you say that my wife says exactly the same thing. She swears at Mercury constantly, and she refers to it as the land of up because everything feels like it's uphill all the time, even when it's not.
When you're in the farmlands, they call it the flat loop. You're either going up and it's 3%, or you're going down and it's 3%.
But yeah, I like personally, I think France has overtaken Mercury as world number two, just because Mercury doesn't have that signature climb yet. And
So let's move on to our round the horn topic then, which was kind of if we wanted to add some roads in to any of the worlds in Zwift, what do we want? What type of things do we want? Where are we going to add them? Who wants to go first?
so I'm gonna say it is probably so. There's multiple options for this, but it's another approach to another big climb. I think adding the grade to Epic has made such an improvement to Watopia. I think adding a second approach to the Alp could do something similar. Now it's going to be bigger, harder routes, but I think it could be really big. Adding one of the other two real approaches to Ventoux and trying to figure out how you work that into the Zwift world of France, which is highly fictional. But I think adding one of those other approaches to Ventoux could be similar. But Ventoux is a really big climb for us mere mortals as opposed to pro cyclists. Yeah, that's one where it starts to get completely unreasonable to do that twice in a route, where the Alp and then the backside of the Alp is, you could do that. It's only, you could probably do that with 2,500 meters of climbing. But yeah, going all the way up Ventoux twice to hit a lot. Well, although, yeah, the real approaches to Ventoux, they meet at the top of, oh shoot, what's the name of the
Shall I run out?
Lorraine.
chalet.
You meet at the top of the Lorraine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
guess
but
up to there, so it's not quite so bad. But yeah,
I mean,
I don't know
I think there are
how
people
you
who'd
would.
enjoy it, aren't there? There are people who
I
go
enjoy
to
it.
Ventoux to do all three ascents in a day. So
Yeah, and there is the other version that arrives at the Chalet now or Gentrude of Lorraine in Zwift. It's the side of the Ventoux, which is the quote unquote easy side of Ventoux, but because you start a bit higher up and it's I think 5-6% inverse to the 10% foresty section, which you don't have on Zwift, but that's the long draggy steep which we have now on Van Top. So yeah, know how you would implement it in Zwift because you still need them do the initial.
I'm going to say quite confidently that there's no easy way to climb 1,500 meters.
how about you, Steph? Where would you be adding?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, but yeah, we thought about the ideas of like where we have like in London the escalator thing going from downtown London to Richmond Park. We had the multiple discussion to interconnecting the different worlds where you can move from France to Paris or to Bologna or whatever. Yeah, that's more of a technical nightmare probably for Zwift, but yeah, because some of like you said, Macquarie, France, and Utopia are quite open, but the other worlds are basically a circuit or a few options. Yeah,
Would that would
I
that be a
think.
teleport? Would you teleport or physical tube to ride through for however long?
Yeah, it would be interesting because you technically have the portals for the climbing portals, but it's you're in another pocket. But if you look at your map,
Uh,
you 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 just continue the route. But if that's a way possible with the portals, you can interconnect them. Would be lovely. But yeah, I think the introduction of the climbing portals, because I'm a climber, has been interesting. But yeah, I think some more iconic climbs implementing in Zwift would be nice. But yeah, I think like Steve said, for instance, the Salvio is a famous climb, but I think most people just have that final section with the switchback would be interesting because yeah, lots of climbs
mhm.
are quite long straight road sections and can get quite boring as people as if you've ridden Van Top. It's just continuous, almost straight roads. But yeah, and I think switchbacks or lots of corners on a climb makes it much more interesting because you have things to look at and looking at the plain view. But yeah, it's difficult to.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think you'd have to add a reasonable amount of road if you wanted to make it geographically accurate to connect London to St Pancras or London routes to St Pancras, which is where the Eurostar goes from for non-European listeners. And you could ride down into the Eurostar tunnel and then pop up in France or certainly in Paris. I think they'd have to add a little bit of road to do that. But that would be cool, wouldn't it? That would be.
And maybe because I'm from Belgium, I think my Rouge has it uh, a Flemish Ardennes or a Belgian route with the cobblestone climbs. I don't know how you would implement. We have the cobblestones. There's a bit of a, like I said, CRR difference, but yeah, it would be neat to have something like that in game of the short, punchy, cobbly climbs. Or you can mix it up because you can shrink it down, have a Belgian world with the Tour of Flanders climbs and more the Ardennes sites in one map close to each other with a more longer climbs would be interesting as a fellow as a Belgian. I have to suggest that because I think we always say that Belgium is the capital of the world, the center of cycling or the birthplace of cycling, something like that. But yeah.
It's funny you say that. One of and I had three ideas because why bring one to the party? One of mine was more things like I really like Hillycombe. I really like Libby Hill. And it's kind of 2 to 3 minute punchy hills. So I thought in short Belgian climbs is where I went, or short Flemish climbs. Flesh Wallon, Murderquy, look that up. It's about twice the length of Libby Hill and 4 times the altitude. So not going to be quite as short and punchy as I had pictures in my head there, unfortunately. Um, I think the other thing I would love to add, more climbs like that. Weirdly, as someone who doesn't particularly enjoy climbing at the moment, mine are mostly climbs. The I'd put in another 20-minute climb in Watopia. So I really like the grade, top of grade thing, but and I really like Epic. But and another climb. How you make it feel different enough, I don't know, but kind of another 20 to 30 minute or probably 15 to 30-minute climb for some of these speedy folks in game would be really cool, I think.
Interesting.
How
Yeah.
about you, Nate? Where would you be adding?
Oh, me, I'm going to go gravel. And I'm going to say what I'd like to see them do is have different styles of gravel out there. I mean, gravel is a very popular riding and racing event. And what I would be going for is going with the different grades of gravel that's out there so that what we have is you can go out there, you can practice on gravel that's hard pack, relatively close to asphalt, all the way down to stuff that's fairly sandy. And that way, what we'd get is our gravel bikes that are on Zwift would be it'd be more useful. Right now, gravel bikes are next to useless. And with all the people that do gravel, it seems to me that'd be a big win pretty easily.
Yeah, you're kind of preaching to the choir here. I think this is the feedback in the Tron group that I had after riding France the first time this week is that kind of it's really disappointing the CRR tweaks that they've done. That kind of it feels really fast. The other thing with the French gravel is it doesn't feel kind of these are farm tracks that you can barely get farm vehicles down. They've got huge ruts down the side. I felt like I was riding on a fairly major road. There's people going different ways. It feels really wide. There's no dust. There's no dirt being thrown up. I really love that bit when you go out towards the Alp. That segment there where you get all the dust being thrown up everywhere and you hit the jungle and kind of actually you have to start thinking about going back to our beginner racing discussion. You have to start thinking about, do I actually need to be a bit further up in this pack, especially in big races? Because I might miss a gap because I can't see it.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, definitely a fan of that one. I did think with on your gravel idea, I did think this would be a great way to sell steering because any of you've watched the kind of the proper cobbles in Europe, guys are cycling down the edges of the road. Like if you want to overtake, you go up the middle, but if you want to ride and not be shaken to bits, you go down the sides in the ruts, don't you? So yeah, could you integrate steering into it somehow as well?
I'd be all over that because if you ride gravel, one of the things you have to do is you have to look at what the road looks like ahead of you and find out where identify the softer spots so that you know that you're going to go over it. Okay.
Wow, that's I think we've got a quite a big wish list there to forward onto Zwift and a good point to wrap up. So just a few things. If you've got any ideas on how Zwift improves, let us know. Always fun to see that in the comments. But I think particularly Nate, how do folks get a hold of you? You talked a lot about getting feedback from people who try the races. What's the best way to get that feedback to you?
Best way, I post every Monday and Wednesday on HBR, that's always a good way. You can also just hit me up on Messenger very easily. I'm pretty user-friendly about answering people. Haven't had any issues yet with that.
That's awesome, and definitely 100% the spirit of the herd, isn't it? So I think it's a good point to finish, isn't it? So I'll say good night to everyone listening. Good night, Moon, as Craig likes to say at this point. And everyone, hammer the primes, enjoy HSRL, enjoy HBR if you're riding that, enjoy Zwift if you're just riding. Moo, and good night.
Thank you very much.